never thought a Tuesday night would ruin my entire life. That's what I kept thinking as I sat in the corner booth of Riverside Coffee, waiting for a woman I'd never met. My hands were shaking. Not the kind of shake you get from too much caffeine, but the kind that comes from pure fear. Jason, my old college roommate, had set this whole thing up. He called me last week while I was eating cereal for dinner alone again. "Dude, you need to get out there," he said. "I know this girl. She's perfect for you. Normal. Sweet. Likes guys who work regular jobs and don't spend all their money on stupid stuff." I said no at first. Then he kept texting. Every single day. Long messages about how I was wasting my life. How I needed to try. How this girl Rebecca was exactly what I needed. I finally said yes just to make him stop. Now I was here, wearing my best shirt, the blue one without any stains, sitting at a table with 2 menus. The coffee shop smelled like fresh bread. Soft music played from speakers I couldn't see. People sat at other tables, typing on laptops or reading books. Everything felt calm, safe, like nothing bad could happen here. I was so wrong. Rebecca walked in exactly at 7. I knew it was her because she looked around nervously, checking her phone, then spotted me and smiled. She wore a soft cream-colored cardigan over a black top and jeans. Her hair was waving around her shoulder. She looked kind. That's the first word that came to my mind. Kind. "Ethan?" she asked, walking over. "Yeah. Hi. You must be Rebecca." We shook hands. Hers were warm. Mine were still shaking. She didn't seem to notice. We sat down and I immediately knocked over the salt shaker. Great start. She laughed though, not in a mean way, but like it was actually funny. That made me relax a tiny bit. "So Jason tells me you work in accounting," she said, opening her menu. "Yeah. It's boring, but it pays the bills." "What about you?" "I'm a teacher. 3rd grade. It's chaos every day, but I love it." We talked for a few minutes about work. She told me about a kid in her class who brought a frog to school and it escaped. I told her about how I once sent an email to the entire company by accident. Normal stuff. Easy stuff. Then she said something that made me actually smile. "I volunteer at the animal shelter on weekends. There's this old dog there, Buster. He's been there for 2 years. Nobody wants him because he's slow and his fur is gray. But I visit him every Saturday. Old souls deserve love too. You know?" That hit me somewhere deep. I thought about my own apartment. How quiet it was. How I came home every night to silence. How I sometimes talked to myself just to hear a voice. Maybe old souls really did deserve love. Maybe I did too. "That's really nice," I said. "The world needs more people like you." She smiled and looked down at her menu. For a second, I thought maybe this blind date thing wasn't such a terrible idea. Maybe Jason was right. Maybe I did need to get out there. Maybe Rebecca was exactly what I needed. Then everything fell apart. I heard the door chime, that little bell that rings when someone walks in. I didn't think anything of it at first. People came and went all the time. But then I heard a small gasp. Not loud, just a tiny sound of surprise. Something made me turn around. I don't know why. Maybe curiosity. Maybe fate. I turned and looked toward the entrance. Standing there, frozen, staring directly at me, was Sarah Monroe. My neighbor. The woman from apartment 4B. The woman I'd lived 2 floors away from for 3 years. The woman I saw almost every day in the elevator, in the hallway, at the mailboxes. The woman I'd helped carry groceries. The woman whose birthday I remembered even though she never told me when it was. The woman I thought about way more than I should. She wore a t-shirt. Her hair was shorter than last time I saw her, cut in a neat style that framed her face. She carried a small purse. She looked beautiful. She always looked beautiful. But right now she looked shocked. Her eyes were wide. Her mouth was slightly open. She was staring at me. Then her eyes moved to Rebecca. Then back to me. Then to Rebecca again. I watched her face change. Surprise turned into something else. Something I couldn't quite read. Confusion, maybe. Or hurt. I felt my stomach drop. This was bad. This was really bad. Sarah started walking toward our table. My heart started pounding so hard I thought Rebecca might hear it. What was Sarah doing here? Did she come here often? Was this her favorite coffee shop? Why tonight? Why now? She stopped right next to our table. Rebecca looked up, confused but still smiling. Sarah didn't smile. She just looked at me, really looked at me, like she was trying to figure something out. Ethan, she said. Her voice was quiet, but I heard every word perfectly. You're on a date. It wasn't a question. It was a statement, an observation, an accusation maybe. I tried to speak. My mouth moved but no sound came out. I felt like I was underwater. Everything sounded far away. The music, the other conversations, even my own thoughts. Yeah, I finally managed to say. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Sarah's eyes didn't leave mine. She crossed her arms. Not in an angry way. More like she was protecting herself from something. I see, she said. Then she paused. The pause felt like it lasted forever. I could see her thinking, deciding something. Rebecca shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable. She looked at me, then at Sarah, then back at me. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something but didn't know what. Then Sarah said the words that made my entire world stop spinning. Why didn't you ask me out instead? The question hung in the air. Heavy. Real.
Impossible.
Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. I couldn't do anything except stare at her. Sarah Monroe. My neighbor. The woman I'd been too scared to talk to about anything deeper than weather and broken elevators. The woman I'd watched from a distance for 3 years. The woman I thought would never, ever see me as anything more than the awkward guy from 3A. She was asking me why I didn't ask her out. She wanted to know. She cared. And I had absolutely no idea what to say. Rebecca's face turned bright red. Not from anger or embarrassment exactly, but from the awkwardness of the whole situation. She looked down at her coffee cup like it might have answers written at the bottom. I wished I could disappear, just vanish into thin air, become invisible. Anything to not be sitting here right now with both of these women staring at me. Sarah still stood next to our table, waiting for an answer. Her arms were still crossed. Her expression hadn't changed. She looked determined, like she wasn't going to leave until I said something real. This is. I tried to form a complete sentence, but my brain had stopped working properly. It was like someone had unplugged all my thoughts and plugged them back in wrong. Nothing made sense. Nothing fit together. Rebecca cleared her throat gently. She said, looking at Sarah.
I'm Rebecca.
We're on a blind date. His friend Jason set it up. Sarah nodded slowly. I know who you are, she said. Not mean, just honest. I saw you walk in. I was sitting over there. She pointed to a small table by the window. A half-finished latte sat there, still steaming. A book lay open next to it. She'd been here first. She'd been sitting there, peaceful and quiet, probably reading and drinking coffee, and then she saw me walk in, saw me sit down, saw me wait for someone, saw Rebecca arrive, watched our whole conversation from across the room. How long had she been watching? What did she think? Did she feel hurt? Angry? Betrayed? We were just neighbors. We'd never talked about anything serious. We'd never gone beyond friendly hallway conversations. So why did I feel like I'd done something wrong? Sarah, I didn't know you came here, I said, finally finding some words. I come here every Tuesday, she replied. Her voice was softer now. 7 o'clock. I've been doing it for 6 months. I thought maybe you'd notice. Maybe you'd show up one Tuesday, by accident or on purpose. I didn't care which. My heart sank into my shoes. Every Tuesday. She came here every Tuesday at 7, hoping I'd show up, hoping I'd find her. And instead, I showed up tonight for someone else. For a blind date with a stranger. Rebecca looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. I think I should, she started to say, but Sarah held up her hand gently. No, please stay, Sarah said. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. This isn't fair to you. You didn't do anything wrong. Neither did you, Rebecca said quietly. There was something in her voice. Understanding maybe. Sympathy. She looked at me. Ethan, maybe you should talk to her. I'll wait outside for a bit. You don't have to do that, I said quickly. Actually, I think I do, Rebecca replied. She stood up and grabbed her jacket from the back of her chair. She gave Sarah a small, sad smile. It's okay. Really. Then she walked toward the exit, leaving me alone with Sarah. The coffee shop suddenly felt smaller, quieter, like everyone else had disappeared and it was just the two of us. Sarah sat down in the chair Rebecca had left. She put her hands on the table, fingers laced together. She looked nervous now. The confidence from before had faded a little. I shouldn't have done that, she said. That was unfair. To both of you. Why did you? I asked. The question came out before I could stop it. She looked up at me. Her eyes were brown. I'd never noticed that before. Or maybe I had but never let myself really see it. Because I've been waiting for you to notice me for 3 years. Ethan. 3 years. And tonight, I watched you show up for someone you've never even met. Someone who isn't me. Her voice cracked just a little on those last words. I notice you, I said. Every day. I notice you. Then why didn't you ever ask me out? I didn't have a good answer. Fear, I guess. Fear of rejection. Fear of making things weird. Fear of losing the small connection we already had. Fear of not being good enough. You're Sarah Monroe, I said slowly. You're amazing. You're smart and funny and you always know what to say. You helped Mr. Wilson when he fell in the lobby. You organized that whole thing to get the building's heat fixed last winter. You remember everyone's names, even the new people. You're the kind of person everyone wants to be around. And? She prompted. And I'm just the guy from 3A. I burn toast so badly the smoke alarm goes off. I forget to check my mail for weeks. I killed every plant I've ever owned.
I'm boring.
I work in accounting. I eat cereal for dinner. Why would someone like you want to go out with someone like me? Sarah stared at me for a long moment. Then she did something I didn't expect. She laughed. Not a big laugh, just a small one. Soft and sad and somehow hopeful at the same time. You really don't see it, do you? She said. See what? Ethan, you hold the elevator door for everyone. Even when you're clearly running late. Last month, you waited 5 whole minutes because Mrs. Chun was coming down the hall with her walker. You helped Tommy from 2C carry his bike up the stairs when the elevator was broken. You left cookies outside my door on my birthday. Homemade cookies. You didn't even knock. You just left them there with a note that said, Happy Birthday, in your handwriting. I felt my face getting hot. How did you know those were from me? Because I know your handwriting. You write the rent checks every month. I've seen them in the office. She leaned forward slightly. You think you're boring, but you're the kindest person in this entire building. Maybe the kindest person I know. You make everything better just by being there. And I've been hoping, every single day, that you'd see me the way I see you. We sat there in silence for a moment, the weight of her words settling between us. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, feel the heat in my face, the impossible reality that Sarah Monroe had been waiting for me to notice her the same way I'd been terrified to let her notice me. I should check on Rebecca, I said finally, my voice barely working. Sarah nodded. You should. We both stood up and walked toward the door. The cool evening air hit my face as we stepped outside, and I saw Rebecca standing under a street lamp about 20 feet away, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when she heard us approach, and her expression was kind, understanding in a way that made my chest ache with guilt. I'm so sorry, I started to say, but Rebecca held up her hand. Don't, she said gently. You don't look at me the way you look at her. My face went nuclear. Sarah's eyes widened a little, surprise mixing with something softer. Rebecca chuckled, a sound full of understanding and grace. I could tell from the moment you turned around and saw her. Your whole face changed. You looked terrified and excited and confused all at the same time. Nobody looks at someone like that unless there's something real there. Sarah wiped at her eyes quickly, trying to hide the fact that tears were gathering. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your date. Don't apologize, Rebecca said warmly. Honestly, This is the most interesting blind date I've ever been on. She turned to me, her expression kind but honest. Ethan, you're a really good guy. Jason told me about you, about how you're always helping people, how you volunteer at the community center, how you're basically the nicest person he knows. And after talking to you tonight, I can see he was right. But, I said, hearing the word coming even though she hadn't said it yet. But, she agreed. Nice isn't enough. There has to be something more. A spark. Connection. And I think we both know where your connection is. She glanced at Sarah, who looked like she wanted to disappear into the sidewalk. Then Rebecca did something I didn't expect. She reached out and squeezed my hand. Just once. Quick and friendly. Go, she said simply. You deserve something real. Both of you. Are you sure? I asked, feeling guilty even though I knew she was right. Completely sure, Rebecca said. Besides, I have a feeling this is going to make a great story someday. The blind date that ended with the neighbor confession. It's almost romantic. Sarah let out a small laugh, half crying, half relieved. I feel terrible. Don't, Rebecca said firmly. Life's too short to let chances pass by. Trust me, I know. She looked at me one more time. Take care of each other. Okay? And then she left. Just like that.
No Biternes, no Gealou-se, no Dramatic Exit.
Just kindness. I watched her walk away into the night, her figure getting smaller as she headed toward the subway station at the end of the block. Part of me wanted to run after her, to thank her properly, to make sure she knew how much I appreciated what she'd just done. But my feet stayed planted on the sidewalk, right next to Sarah, where apparently they were supposed to be all along. She's really nice, Sarah said quietly, watching Rebecca disappear around the corner. Yeah, I agreed. She is. We stood there in silence for a moment, the weight of what had just happened settling over us. The coffee shop behind us was still buzzing with conversation and laughter, people living their normal Tuesday nights, completely unaware that my entire world had just turned upside down. I can't believe I just did that, Sarah said suddenly, covering her face with her hands. I can't believe I walked up to you in the middle of your date and asked why you didn't ask me out instead. What was I thinking? I'm glad you did, I said, and I meant it. She peeked at me through her fingers. Really? Really? I confirmed. I mean, I wish my brain was working well enough to actually say something intelligent. But yeah.
I'm glad.
She lowered her hands slowly, a small smile appearing on her face. Your brain stopped working? Completely, I admitted. The moment you asked that question, every single thought I had just vanished. It's still not back yet. She laughed, a real laugh this time, and the sound made something warm spread through my chest. So what now? Sarah asked, and suddenly the lightness was gone, replaced by something more serious. I just blew up your date. Your friend Jason is probably going to hate me, and we still have to live in the same building, see each other in the hallway every day. I don't think Jason will hate you, I said. And as for seeing each other in the hallway, well, maybe that won't be so bad anymore. She bit her lip, nervous. Maybe this was it. This was the moment where I either let fear win again, where I made up another excuse about why I wasn't good enough or why it wouldn't work or why she deserved someone better. Or I could do something different, something brave, something that actually mattered. I took a breath. Sarah, I said, and my voice only shook a little bit. Would you maybe want to take a walk with me? Right now. Her eyes searched mine, looking for something. Certainty, maybe, courage. Whatever she saw must have been enough because she smiled, really smiled, and nodded. Yes, she said. I'd really like that. We started walking, no particular destination in mind, just moving through the quiet streets. The evening breeze was cool against my face, and every few steps, our hands would brush together. Finally, I just grabbed hers. She squeezed back. You know what's funny? She said after a few minutes. 8 months ago, you helped me when my car wouldn't start. Remember? It was pouring rain, and you got completely soaked trying to fix it. When the tow truck finally came, you waited with me even though you were supposed to meet your friends. I remembered. I'd been late to Jason's birthday dinner, and my friends had given me grief about it for weeks. That was nothing, I said. That was everything, she corrected me. You didn't leave. You didn't make me feel bad for ruining your plans. You just stayed. And I thought, this is someone special. That's when I knew I wanted more than just hallway conversations. My heart hammered against my ribs. Why didn't you say something? She shrugged. Same reason you didn't, I guess. Fear. I kept thinking, what if I'm wrong? What if he's just nice to everyone and it doesn't mean anything special? What if I make it weird, and then we have to avoid each other in the hallway forever? I thought the exact same things, I admitted. Every single day. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and something shifted, like a wall coming down. We're both idiots, she said. Complete idiots. I agreed, and we both started laughing. We found ourselves at a small park with a bench overlooking the street. A food cart was packing up nearby, and on impulse, I jogged over and managed to buy 2 hot chocolates before the vendor closed up completely. Sarah was grinning when I came back. Hot chocolate from a street cart. This is definitely better than any fancy restaurant. Really? I asked. Because I'm pretty sure this cost $3 and came from a cart. She bumped her shoulder against mine as we sat down. It's not about the hot chocolate, dummy. It's about this. Sitting here. Finally talking. Finally being honest. And that's when we really started talking. Not the polite neighbor conversation we'd had 100 times before. Real talking. She told me about her job at the marketing firm, how she loved the creative parts but hated the politics, how her boss took credit for her ideas and she was thinking about quitting but scared to lose the steady paycheck. I told her about my job at the tech company, how I'd been passed over for a promotion twice because I wasn't aggressive enough in meetings, how I sometimes felt invisible at work. You're not invisible, she said firmly. Not to me. I notice everything about you. Like what? I asked, curious. She thought for a moment. Like how you always take the stairs instead of the elevator on Sunday mornings because Mrs. Peterson goes to church and needs the elevator to herself with her walker. Or how you leave your apartment at exactly 7:15 every weekday, but on Fridays you leave 10 minutes early so you can stop at the bakery and bring something nice for your coworkers. I sat there stunned. I thought nobody noticed those things. I notice you too, I said quietly. You sing in the shower. Really loudly. Usually off-key. But it always makes me smile when I hear it through the walls. She covered her face with her hands. Oh no. You can hear that. Every word. I said, grinning. You really love that song about dancing in the moonlight. I'm never singing again, she groaned. Please don't stop, I said. It's my favorite part of Tuesday mornings. At some point, she shivered, and without thinking, I put my arm around her shoulders. She leaned into me, and it felt like the most natural thing in the world. You know, she said quietly, her head resting against my shoulder. I've spent years wondering if you'd ever notice me, really notice me. But this, choosing to tell you how I felt tonight, this feels like the bravest thing I've ever done. I turned slightly so I could see her face. I'm glad you were brave. I don't think I ever would have been. I don't believe that, she said. You're braver than you think. Bravery isn't always loud. Ethan. It's not always about big gestures. Sometimes it's just showing up. Being kind when nobody's watching. Helping people even when it's inconvenient. That takes real courage. Nobody had ever said anything like that to me before. We sat there for another hour, talking about everything and nothing. About her family in Colorado and my family in Maine. About bad movies we secretly loved and good movies everyone else loved that we hated. About dreams we'd given up on and dreams we were still chasing. The park grew quieter as the night deepened, and eventually, we both knew it was time to head home. Come on, I said, standing and offering her my hand. Let me walk you home. She laughed. We live in the same building. I know, I said, but let me walk you home anyway. We walked back slowly, taking the long way around through quiet streets. Neither of us wanted the night to end. When we finally reached our apartment building, everything looked different. This was our hallway, our mailboxes, our elevator, the same building we'd lived in for 3 years. but now it meant something else. We took the elevator up to our floor, and the silence felt comfortable instead of awkward. When we reached the third floor, we both stepped out and stood in the hallway between our two doors. "So," she said. "So," I echoed. "This is the part where we say goodnight, right?" "Probably," I agreed. "Or," she said slowly, "you could come over for a few minutes. I make really good tea. And I promise I won't sing." I laughed. "I'd like that." Her apartment was like a mirror image of mine, but completely different. Where I had basic furniture and bare walls, she had plants everywhere, colorful throw pillows, and photos covering every surface. "Wow," I said, looking around. "This is actually decorated. My place looks like a furniture store display room." "I noticed," she said with a teasing smile. "You have literally 3 things on your walls: a calendar, a clock, and one sad poster from college." "That poster is vintage," I protested. "It's from a concert you never went to that happened before you were born," she shot back. "That's not vintage. That's just old." She put the kettle on, and I sat at her small kitchen table. There was a book face down on the table, a bookmark sticking out. I recognized it. "You're reading the same book I'm reading," I said. Picking it up, she turned around, eyes wide. "The sci-fi one about the space station?" "Chapter 15. I said. "I'm on chapter 16, she said. "I've been dying to talk to someone about it. None of my friends like science fiction." We spent the next 20 minutes talking about the book, arguing about character motivations and predicting how it would end. The kettle whistled, and she made us tea in mugs that had funny sayings on them. Mine said, "Powered by caffeine and poor decisions." We moved to her couch, and the conversation drifted to other books, then to shows we were watching, then to stupid things we'd done as kids. At some point, I noticed the clock on her wall. It was almost midnight. "I should probably go," I said reluctantly. "You probably should," she agreed, but neither of us moved. "Sarah?" I said, and something in my voice made her look at me more seriously. "Thank you. For tonight. For being brave enough to say something. I would have spent the rest of my life wondering what if, and it would have been the biggest mistake I ever made." She set her mug down on the coffee table. "You know what's funny? Rebecca saw it before either of us admitted it. She looked at us for like 30 seconds and knew. She told me I don't look at her the way I look at you," I said. "How do you look at me?" Sarah asked softly. "I thought about it. Like you're the best part of every day. Like every time I hear your voice in the hallway, my whole day gets better. Like when you're around, everything feels lighter." Her eyes were shining, and I realized she was fighting back tears. Happy tears. "That's exactly how I look at you," she whispered. And then, because it felt right, because everything about this night felt right, I leaned in and kissed her. It was gentle and careful and perfect. When we pulled apart, she was smiling so wide I thought her face might break. "I've imagined that about 1,000 times," she admitted. "Me too," I said. "Though in my imagination, I was way smoother." "You were plenty smooth," she assured me. I stood up to leave, and she walked me to her door. We stood there like awkward teenagers again, neither wanting to say goodbye. "So," she said, "breakfast tomorrow?" "I work weekends at the coffee shop down the street," she said. "But I'm off at noon." "Lunch? It's a date," I said. She grinned. "Our second date. And we haven't even finished our first one yet." "Then let's not finish it," I suggested. "Let's just pause it until tomorrow." "I like that," she said. I opened her door and stepped into the hallway. My apartment was literally right there, maybe 20 feet away, but it felt like miles. "Good night, Sarah." "Good night, Ethan." I walked to my door and unlocked it, then turned back. She was still standing in her doorway, watching me. "Hey," I called softly. "Yeah. I'm really glad you came to that coffee shop tonight." "Me too," she said. "Best decision I ever made." I went inside my apartment and closed the door, then leaned against it, grinning like an idiot. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Sarah, even though she was literally 20 feet away. "Already counting down to tomorrow," it said. I texted back, "Same." Then another text came through. "Also, you left your scarf at my place, but you can get it tomorrow." I felt my neck. I hadn't been wearing a scarf. I texted, "I wasn't wearing a scarf." She replied, "I know, but now you have an excuse to come back." I laughed out loud in my empty apartment. This girl, this amazing, clever, beautiful girl who'd been right across the hall the whole time. The blind date I dreaded had led me exactly where I needed to be. Not with Rebecca, though I'd always be grateful to her for her kindness, but with Sarah, the woman who'd seen me all along when I couldn't see myself. I got ready for bed but couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about tomorrow, about lunch, about the fact that I could text her right now if I wanted to, about the fact that this wasn't just one night. This was the start of something real. My phone buzzed again. "Sarah? Are you asleep?" Me? Not even close. Sarah? Me neither. Too happy to sleep. Me? Same. This feels like a dream. Sarah? If it's a dream, I don't want to wake up. Me? It's not a dream. I promise. Sarah? Good. See you tomorrow, neighbor. Me? See you tomorrow. I finally fell asleep around 2 in the morning, and for the first time in years, my future didn't feel like a lonely hallway stretching ahead with nothing to look forward to. Felt warm and bright and shared. Felt like home. And the best part? That home was just across the hall, 20 feet away, where an incredible woman was probably lying awake too, thinking about me the same way I was thinking about her. Sometimes the universe stops you in your tracks for a reason. Not to scare you or confuse you, but to make absolutely sure you don't miss the moment that matters most. The moment when everything finally clicks into place. The moment when you stop being afraid and start being honest. The moment when the person you've been looking for turns out to be the person who was there all along.